On my son's first day of school, my in-laws showed up unannounced and tried to walk him in. When I said no, my mother-in-law shouted, "I've raised more kids than you ever will." I walked him in myself. But when I came out, I found her digging through my glove compartment. "Just looking for custody papers," she said. I called my lawyer before I even drove off. She was served with a no-contact order before the week was over. I live in Greensboro, North Carolina. I've been a single dad since my son, Aaron, was 2. His mom left and never looked back. She ran off to Colorado when things got hard. No note, no warning. Just gone. At first, her parents, my ex-in-laws, Marla and George, stayed in the picture. They said they wanted to help. And honestly, I needed it. I was 24, working 2 jobs, and had no family nearby. When Marla brought diapers or offered to watch Aaron while I worked late, I said yes. I didn't like her attitude, but I told myself to suck it up. It's what was best for my son. Looking back, that was the first mistake. Marla always had something to say. "Why don't you feed him better food? He needs more structure. You shouldn't let him play alone." Constant criticism. George didn't say much, but he always backed her up. I figured as long as they weren't hurting Aaron, I'd tolerate them. Things changed as Aaron got older. They started acting like they were his parents. They'd show up to daycare unannounced. Once, Marla told one of his teachers that I was unfit and they should call her if anything happened. When I found out, I nearly lost it. I confronted her, and she played it off like a joke. "I was just being protective," she said. I should have shut it all down then. But I didn't want to start a legal battle. I didn't want to be the guy who kept his kid away from family. And part of me felt guilty. Like maybe I wasn't doing enough. That kind of doubt can eat you alive. Anyway, fast forward to last fall. Aaron was starting kindergarten. It was a huge moment. I'd gotten him a little Spider-Man backpack. We picked out his clothes the night before. I made him pancakes in the morning and tried not to cry while he ate them. We left the house early. I was ready. He was nervous, holding onto my hand tight as we walked to the school entrance. Then I saw it. George's gray Nissan pulled into the parking lot. I recognized it right away. My stomach dropped. Sure enough, Marla jumped out of the passenger side like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. She was wearing a blouse like she was heading to Easter Sunday. Phone in hand, already recording. "Aaron," she called out, all sweet. "Come give Grandma a hug." He looked confused. He didn't run to her, just kind of stood still. I turned to her. "What are you doing here?" She blinked like I'd just asked her why the sun rises. "It's his first day. Of course we're here. I didn't invite you." George stepped forward. "We don't need an invitation to see our grandson." I glanced around. Other parents were starting to look. I crouched down and whispered to Aaron, "Why don't you go wait by the door with the other kids?" He nodded, still unsure, but walked off. That's when Marla made her move. "I'll walk him in," she said, reaching for his arm. I stepped in front of her. "No. I'm his father. I'll do it." Her eyes narrowed like I'd slapped her. Then she shouted, "I've raised more kids than you ever will." It echoed through the parking lot. Some people stopped walking. One mom pulled her child closer. I didn't yell back. I just looked her in the eye and said, "You need to leave." She didn't move. George didn't either. I turned and walked Aaron inside. I told myself to focus on him. We found his classroom, met the teacher, hung up his backpack. I knelt down and hugged him. "You're going to do great," I said. "I love you, Daddy," he whispered. I stayed with him for a few minutes, just to make sure he was okay. Then I walked out, thinking maybe they'd be gone. They weren't. My car door was open. At first, I thought I forgot to lock it. Then I saw her. Marla was in my passenger seat, rifling through the glove compartment like she owned the damn thing. I ran over. "What the hell are you doing?" She looked up, calm as ever. "Just looking for custody papers." "I think you're hiding something." "You broke into my car. You're unstable. I'm going to prove it. You shouldn't have him." My hands were shaking. I didn't yell. I didn't touch her. I just pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. Right there. In front of her. I need to file for a no-contact order, I said into the phone. They just tried to interfere with custody and broke into my vehicle. Marla's face changed. She knew I wasn't bluffing. By that Friday, she and George were served. The papers were clear. No contact with Aaron, no showing up at school, no uninvited visits. But I knew they weren't done. After the no-contact order was served, things went quiet for a while. The school put notes in Aaron's file to alert staff if anyone tried to approach him. I gave the principal copies of the order, explained everything. The teachers were understanding, but it still made me feel sick. My kid couldn't even enjoy school without drama following him there. Then, 3 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. From a lawyer. Marla and George had filed for grandparents' rights. They wanted scheduled visitation. Claimed I was unreasonably denying them access. That they had a close bond with Aaron and that cutting them off was harmful. I took the letter straight to my attorney. He shook his head and said, "We've seen this before. They think they can outmaneuver you with money and pressure." They had hired a big-name family law firm in Winston-Salem. People who had handled nasty custody fights. I felt outmatched. But I wasn't backing down. We filed a response. We showed evidence. My lawyer put together logs, text messages, voicemails, times they showed up uninvited, notes from daycare staff. We had screenshots of Marla's Facebook posts where she hinted that some kids are being raised by fools and a real mom always knows what's best. It got worse when we dug into her past. My lawyer found records. Marla had a CPS complaint from years ago when she was raising her youngest daughter. It had been closed, but it was still there. There were also 2 restraining orders from her old job at a pediatric clinic. She'd harassed a coworker and threatened a nurse over a medical decision she disagreed with. She'd been banned from the building. When I brought this up in court, her face turned red. She shouted at the judge that I was lying. The judge asked her to sit down or be removed. Aaron didn't know any of this, thank God. He just kept going to school, making friends, drawing pictures of superheroes. But I could see it in him. He missed the normalcy. He didn't understand why his grandparents just disappeared. I tried to explain it gently. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that aren't safe, I told him. And it's my job to keep you safe. He nodded. But he started waking up with nightmares. Started asking me not to leave when I dropped him off at school. Then one night, a neighbor texted me, "Hey, just saw that woman again. The older one with gray blonde hair. She was parked near the end of the street for a while. Not sure if it means anything, but thought you should know." I checked my doorbell cam footage. And there she was. Marla. Sitting in her car across from my house. Just watching. I printed the photo. Took it to the sheriff's office. They said they couldn't arrest her yet, but they documented it. The next day, I bought new locks. I added cameras to the back of the house. I taught Aaron a code word. If anyone ever told him Daddy sent me, they had to know the word. He picked it himself. Blueberry. A week later, I got a call from Aaron's school. A woman had called and claimed she was authorized to pick him up. She said she was his grandmother and that something happened to his father. But she didn't know the code word. The school followed protocol and called me immediately. I was there in 15 minutes, shaking with rage. Marla had used a burner phone. The number was untraceable. My lawyer filed for a permanent restraining order the same week. We also added more surveillance requests. The court approved a motion to track and monitor known associates of Marla. Turns out, she had a cousin nearby who'd let her use her address for mail. Things reached a boiling point 2 months later when George showed up at my job. I work at a parts warehouse on Wendover Avenue. He walked in like he owned the place, said he was here to talk to me man to man. My manager told him to leave. He refused. "You're ruining that boy," he said. "We gave you everything. You're nothing without us." I called the cops. They trespassed him from the property and added the incident to the ongoing harassment case. Still, the court battle dragged on. Their lawyer kept pushing. Mediation, motions, delays. They were trying to wear me down. But then something changed. I got a call from Stephanie. Yeah, my ex. The one who left. She said, I need to talk to you about my parents. I didn't know it had gotten this far. I was stunned. We hadn't spoken in over 3 years. She sounded scared. They're trying to get to Aaron, I said. I know, she replied. That's why I called. And what she told me next changed everything. Add more story twist, but still keep the details consistent. No ending, yet Stephanie told me she was in trouble. Real trouble. She had moved back to North Carolina a few months ago, quietly, hoping to avoid her parents. She said she'd been living in Asheville, trying to rebuild her life. She'd been clean for a year now. Her words, not mine. Honestly, I hadn't even known she had a drug problem back then. I thought she'd just been young and overwhelmed when she left. I thought I could outrun them, she said over the phone. But they found me. They started showing up at my apartment, asking about Aaron, demanding to know where you lived. That got my attention. She sounded shaken, but honest. Said Marla even threatened to go to CPS and say you were abusing Aaron if I didn't help her. I think they want to take him, she said, voice breaking. I already knew that. Stephanie said she didn't want custody. She wasn't ready. But she wanted to help now, wanted to do something right for once. I told her to meet me at my lawyer's office. She agreed. She brought a folder. Emails, texts, voicemails, messages from Marla, full of manipulative crap. You owe me that child. He deserves better than a father who is always beneath you. And the worst one. It's not kidnapping if you're protecting him from harm. My lawyer's eyes went wide. This is gold, he said. We filed a new petition immediately, asking for the no-contact order to be extended to permanent. We added Stephanie's sworn statement to the file. The judge scheduled a hearing 2 weeks out. But before that hearing could happen, something else happened. Aaron went missing for 10 minutes after school. I'll never forget that day. I got to the school like I always did, 3:10 sharp. His teacher looked confused when I walked up. He already left, she said. What do you mean, he already left? His grandmother signed him out. Said there was an emergency. I couldn't even speak. My legs started moving on their own, running to the office, demanding to see the sign-out log. The name written there wasn't Marla. It was Sarah Green. A fake. I screamed at the staff, demanded to see the cameras. The principal called the police. Then, just as they were putting out an alert, he walked through the front doors. Aaron, holding a janitor's hand, crying. He hadn't been taken. He had been hiding. He told me. A lady said she was taking me home, but she didn't know the blueberry word. So he ran, hid in the janitor's supply closet until he heard me yelling. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in a chair by his bed, shotgun by the door, just in case. The next morning, I got a call from the sheriff. They found Marla's car in a hotel parking lot in High Point. Inside it, a printed map with my house marked, a kid's blanket, and a fake ID with her photo under the name Sarah Green. They still didn't have enough to arrest her. But I was done playing defense. I called Stephanie. I said, if you really want to help, now's the time. She said, what do you want me to do? I said, you know your parents. You know how they think. So we set a trap. And she agreed. Stephanie showed up to my house the next evening. We didn't tell Aaron who she was. He was too young to remember her face, and I wasn't about to confuse him more. I just told him she was a friend, and she was there to help. That part was true. She had a plan. Said she knew her mother couldn't resist one thing: control. So we gave her something to try and control. Stephanie texted Marla from a new burner phone, told her she regretted turning against her and that she wanted to fix things. She made it sound like she was scared of me, like I was unstable and controlling Aaron's life too tightly. We waited 2 hours before Marla responded. Meet me tonight. Bring Aaron. Stephanie texted back. He'll be with me. Just tell me where. Marla gave her an address. A house in rural Alamance County. Belonged to one of George's old army buddies. My lawyer told me not to do it. The police said it was too risky, too thin to base a sting on. But I was done waiting for a judge to protect us. This was my kid. So we went. Not with Aaron, hell no. He stayed with a trusted friend, safe and across town. But we made it look like he was coming. Stephanie drove Marla's old Honda Civic. Same one she used to drive back in college. I sat in the back, hood up, ducked low. We put a little stuffed animal in a booster seat and covered it with a blanket. Just enough to fake a sleeping kid. The address was off a dirt road. No lights. No neighbors in sight. Marla came outside as we pulled up. Her face lit up. Like this was a happy reunion. George stood behind her. He had something in his waistband. A taser. Stephanie played it cool. He's asleep, she said, pointing to the back seat. I didn't want to wake him. Good girl, Marla said, walking toward the car. That's when I stepped out. Back away from the door, I said. Her smile dropped. George reached for the taser. But before he could grab it, red and blue lights lit up the woods. Sheriff's deputies rushed out from behind the trees. Guns drawn. Yelling commands. Hands in the air. It was over in seconds. They were arrested on the spot. Charges: attempted kidnapping, violation of a no-contact order, conspiracy, and unlawful possession of a weapon. Stephanie stood frozen, shaking. I just looked at Marla as they cuffed her. You tried to take my son, I said. Now you're going to lose everything. And she did. In court, the judge didn't hold back. Called her actions predatory and dangerous. The restraining order was made permanent. George got hit with additional charges for obstruction. They both got time. Marla got 2 years. George got 18 months. Stephanie got her own reckoning. The judge questioned her heavily, but she cooperated fully. She avoided charges, but lost any chance of regaining custody. That was her choice. She told the court she didn't want custody, just peace. As for me, I wasn't innocent either. I ignored early warning signs. I let guilt and fear stop me from protecting Aaron sooner. That won't happen again. We moved. New neighborhood, new school. I don't post pictures of him online. I don't share details with anyone outside our tight circle. We live quieter now, but stronger. Every night, before bed, Aaron asks for a story. Not about superheroes. About Blueberry. The blueberry word saved me, he says. And I tell him, no, buddy. You saved yourself. You remembered who you could trust. And now I never forget that again.